Well, nearly 50 years ago, the Great Lakes' most infamous shipwreck shocked Northwest Ohio, Southeast Michigan, and the world. It was November 10th, 1975. The Edmund Fitzgerald vanished beneath the raging waters of Lake Superior. In just moments, the Mighty Fitz, the pride of Toledo, and many of her crew, including Captain Ernest McSorley, were gone. Fathers, sons, brothers, all 29 souls lost.
I really didn't believe that a ship that size would sink.
Believe it or not, the Edmund Fitzgerald, nicknamed the Toledo Express, vanished beneath the water nearly 50 years ago. Christened in 1958, the Edmund Fitzgerald was the largest ship on the Great Lakes at the time. The 729-foot iron ore freighter was a workhorse and set records year after year, hauling taconite from Duluth to Detroit, Toledo, and other ports on the Great Lakes. But in the night of November 10th, 1975, even this mighty vessel couldn't endure the gales of November that unleashed hurricane-force winds and 35-foot waves on Lake Superior.
We're holding our own. We're holding our own.
Captain McSorley bravely navigated the storm and radioed the ship had a bad list, was taking on water, had lost radar, and was struggling to stay on course. Minutes later, the Fitzgerald disappeared. No distress call, no survivors.
We'll never forget our family members that did go down on it. We'll never forget them.
Through the night, rescue crews clung to hope and searched the stormy lake.
And knowing a little about hypothermia and the temperature of the water and, of course, the legend of Lake Superior, we knew that if we found anyone alive, it would be a miracle.
The next morning, November 11th, 1975, news spread across the Great Lakes. Churches tolled their bells 29 times, once for each soul on board. Families braced for the worst.
I was on my way to work in my car about 7 o'clock the next morning of November the 11th, and the news came on my radio.
And I remember going into my mom's bedroom and telling her, and she thought, no, you're making a mistake, you heard it wrong.
He loved us very, very, very much. He had tons of friends, and anytime anybody would talk about my dad, everybody loved my dad.
Polite, liked his ice cream at night. He'd sneak in because he worked 4 to 8 and didn't have time most of the time for his dessert, so I'd give it to him. He'd come through the back and get his ice cream with me. I was always happy to see him.
The loss was devastating. Questions lingered, theories piled up, failed hatches, shifting cargo, rogue waves, shallow shoals.
It doesn't really matter how it happened. It just happened. And we'll never know.
Among all uncertainty, families knew one thing: the wreck site was sacred. They fought to keep it undisturbed and instead brought the ship's bell to the surface. A bell that now rings every November 10th, carrying the names of the 29 men who never came home.
Because the bell is a very spiritual type thing. I think I might say it's spiritual in that it's the voice of the ship.
Well, today marks 10 weeks until the 50 years to the day that the Edmund Fitzgerald sank, and WTOL 11 is bringing you exclusive stories through it all. We're going to take a trip through history, revisiting the storm, the ship, and the lives forever changed. We're going to sit down with those that served on the Fitzgerald, and all leading up to November 10th, 50 years later, as we honor the 29 souls lost to the Great Lakes. Forever part of Toledo's history, the largest ship to be lost on the Great Lakes, even to this day, and the lasting legend of the Edmund Fitzgerald. All of the pieces that you saw in the story today came from a WTOL 11 special 20 years after the ship sank. You can actually go ahead and watch that in its entirety right now on our WTOL 11 YouTube page.